Heyo, and welcome to another episode of The Darchives. I'm Jamie talking to Leo.
And I'm Leo listening to Jamie.
And this week we are getting into part 2 of Edgar Allan Poe. If you have not listened to part 1, I highly recommend going back and listening to it, where we kind of cover his early years into his teens, young adultish.
Yeah, it pretty much covers the traumatic events that molds who Edgar Allan Poe is.
Yeah. This week, we are going to be getting into his adult life and his death and the mystery that all entails.
Yeah, very fun. The two stories that I know are that he either got drunk and was found outside of a bar, or he got beaten up and found outside of a bar.
Yeah, there's a couple different theories. The two that you said are some of the more plausible ones, but we'll get into a few different ones. You guys can follow us on Instagram at Darchives Podcast or send us an email at
The Darchives Community at Gmail. And also, we now have a Threads that I'm in there trying to say hey to everybody on. So,
all right, with that, you ready?
Yep, I'm ready. Let's get into it.
Between 1835 and January of 1837, Poe was absolutely thriving in his position. He was regarded as a controversial critic, with some people giving him high praise and others criticizing the critic. In January of 1837, he was fired from the magazine, maybe due to his drinking. And after this, he moved to New York to try and publish another book, The Narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym. This was published in July of 1838, but by then he had moved to Philadelphia with Muddy in Virginia. I'm just going to call her Muddy. I think that's a funnier name, so I'm going with that one.
Yeah, Aunt Muddy.
Well, Aunt Mother Muddy.
Yep.
While there, things got so bad that the family was said to have been living off of bread and molasses for weeks at a time. In March of 1839, he took a position as an assistant editor at Burton's Gentleman's Magazine, where he made $10 a week. So a little bit of a pay cut. In the previous job, he was making $15 a week. Now we're down to 10. But it's better than no income. So here we are. By Halloween of that year, he had published Fall of the House of Usher and William Wilson, and the bangers just kept coming in the following years. Stories like The Black Cat, The Pit and the Pendulum, and The Telltale Heart, just to name a few. So we got
some big names.
Yes, we got the hits coming out while he's here in Philly. His first publishing of Tales of the Grotesque and Arabesque actually kind of flopped, because so many of the stories that were put into that book had already been published in magazines, so nobody felt the need to buy the book. May of 1840, Poe had the idea of starting his own magazine called The Pen, with the goal of it officially launching the next year. At this time, he was fired from the Gentleman's Magazine, and just like everything else in Edgar Allan Poe's life, it did not end well. His plan to publish his own magazine fell through after a financial crisis hit Philly banks in February of 1841. So now we're fired from the $10 a week job, and the dreams of his own magazine were shattered. After the magazine plans fell through, he took another job as a book review editor for another magazine, and in April, The Murders in the Rue Morgue was published. So again, another banger of a book. Well, short story. This story introduced a character named Detective C. Auguste Dupin, who would later inspire famous detectives like Sherlock Holmes from Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and Hercule Poirot from Agatha Christie. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle actually said, when he was asked if he was inspired by Poe, quote, "Oh, immensely. His detective is the best detective in fiction." And after someone said, "Except for Sherlock," he responded, quote, "I make no exception. Dupin is unrivaled. It was Poe who taught the possibility of making a detective story a work of literature."
Very humble. I mean, you think detectives, you think Sherlock Holmes.
Yes. Yeah, literature detectives, it's always Sherlock. First thought.
Very humble of him to say, yes, Poe's detective is the epitome and the first detective that showed that this could be done, and for that reason, he's the best. Huge praise and very humble. So, yeah, much
Yeah.
respect to that.
Yeah, big, big praise from arguably the best detective author for them to come out and say, "Oh, no, I was 1000% inspired by this man." Like, amazing, amazing to me. Also praising Poe is former FBI profiler John Douglas, who was the creator of the behavioral science and profiling program in the 70s and 80s, and also the co author of Mindhunter. He said that Dupin, quote, may have been history's first behavioral profiler. I firmly believe that without the pioneering work of such inspired storytellers as Poe, English novelist Wilkie Collins, and Arthur Conan Doyle's immortal creation Sherlock Holmes, there is a good chance that modern criminal profiling as we know it would not exist.
More high praise.
Again, by somebody very well renowned in their field of detective work.
Yeah, and was this Mindhunter the show?
This is the book that the show is based off of.
Okay, cool. I have not read the book, but the show,
Chef's Kiss.
yeah, and tragedy that they did not re-up it for more seasons.
Yeah, because there wasn't enough interest.
Yeah, I can't remember, but I was like, everyone I've ever heard watch that show loved that show.
Yeah, I've never met somebody who was just like, man, the show was okay.
And if you haven't seen it, if you're okay with being let down of it not continuing,
Yeah, if you're cool with being edged.
yeah, basically edged and then just no release. The Netflix show Mindhunter was phenomenal, and it's basically like the background story of how the FBI started profiling serial killers.
Mm-hmm.
And it's them going around interviewing some of the most like heinous dudes that committed horrible crimes back in the day, and just really getting psychological profiles on these people.
Yeah. And the man who co-authored the book is praising Poe's work in literature detective
Yeah,
work.
the guy who created
Yeah.
this system, basically.
Just two amazing pieces of praise for him. With darkness never too far from Edgar, though, tragedy struck yet again in January of 1842 when 19-year-old Virginia suffered a pulmonary hemorrhage and began coughing up blood. This was thought to be the beginning of tuberculosis in her.
Starting to realize a pattern here.
What's that?
Every woman that Edgar gets involved with dies shortly thereafter. Men haven't had a good time with him, but
It is more women than men.
primarily all the women that he has some kind of loving relationship with end up getting pretty sick and dying
Yeah.
pretty soon after he's given into the feeling of compassion or love for those people.
Hey, Elmira made it out. Remember her from the beginning, the secret engagement?
Yeah, she ran away, that's why. She didn't get hit with the curse of Poe.
Oh my god.
Her father, by hiding all those letters, fucking saved that
her?
girl's life. Yeah, before the poison that is Edgar
Oh my gosh.
infected her lungs with tuberculosis.
Oh my god. You know what's crazy? Everybody around him gets tuberculosis,
Is he like a super carrier?
but he never has it.
Does tuberculosis work like that? Could you be a carrier and not be like asymptomatic?
We're going to kind of get into it with his death. It is a very odd thing that so many people around him have died from tuberculosis and he's never shown any symptoms of it.
Is this a put a pin in it moment?
Yeah, it is. Put a pin in that. Random fun fact here. Edgar met Charles Dickens in March of 1842, and the two created kind of an unlikely friendship. But like most of Edgar's friendships, it eventually came to an end after an argument about something in literature. This might have been an anger only on Edgar's side, though, because Dickens returned to America in 1867, some years after Edgar's death, and personally called upon Muddy and gave her money. So the fallout here might have just been on Edgar's side.
Might have been him being the pretentious prick that I thought he was.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Eddie boy.
Oh, goodness.
Eddie. I don't know why I just went Venom there. Eddie.
Well, while I'm on the sidebar fun fact, Muddy, Aunt Mother Maria, she called him Eddie. She, like, affectionately called him Eddie.
Oh, now I gotta keep that Eddie part in
Yeah,
here.
yeah, you do. Now you can't cut that.
That was just ADD going on right there.
Yeah, it's fine. Virginia suffered another hemorrhage, and she would remain essentially like an invalid for the next few years. She's pretty sick now. Once again, saddened and despaired, Poe turned back to drinking, and he actually went missing for a few days, only to turn up drunk at an ex-girlfriend's house in New Jersey.
Okay. Any boys that are listening, well, hit those nights where you hit up the old booty call.
Oh my god, don't leave out my girls. We too get drunk and hit up old booty calls.
Just saying, so like, hey, we've all been sad, drank a little too much, and made some bad decisions.
Yeah, but doing it while you're married? Unacceptable, Eddie.
But where is she?
In sickness and in health. Who are you, John Allan? Get it together.
I'm just saying, there's a certain point, right?
No?
Isn't there a certain, there's got to be a certain point.
I don't know.
This is a conversation that all couples should have. In the event of a vegetative state, what are the boundaries here? What do we do?
Am I allowed to go out?
Yeah, can I go out and try to have some fun?
No.
Okay, that's the difference between men and women right there. Men are like, can I at least still have a life? Because yours is kind of over, and you're like, nah,
No.
nah. If I'm brain dead, you are too. So
Yep, we suffer together, baby. The drinking continued to be a problem for him, and in early 1843, a Philly publisher was going to help him with a solid job and the opportunity to meet President John Tyler. But Poe showed up to this drunk, confrontational, and insisted on wearing his coat inside out. So the whole thing got canceled.
Poe's just drunk.
Yeah. He's just
So-
being a drunken fool.
His wife has this hemorrhage, and then he's just off the deep end after
Yes,
that.
yeah, big time. He kind of gets back on track and has a bit of success in the following months. He won some literary contests and he started giving lectures. So we're kind of getting it back together. The family moves up to New York, and after The Raven is published, Poe is rocketed into literary stardom. The Raven is what really, really does it for him. Naturally, amongst this time of fame, he squanders it by picking literary fights with other poets and drinking. So we finally get a taste of success, and we're gonna start picking drunken fights with other
Yeah.
people.
Now I'm going to rub it in your face.
Yeah.
I'm good. Can't you tell? You should respect what I have to say about your work and how much of a buffoon you are.
As all this fame and fighting is occurring, Virginia is growing sicker and sicker, and on January 30th of 1847, she dies at age 24 from tuberculosis. 24, tuberculosis. Mother, brother, now wife.
Oh, that wasn't even the pattern that I was putting together.
Yeah,
The
we got a
death
different
was-
pattern.
The death was the pattern. Now there's like a micro pattern of
Mhm.
everyone dying of tuberculosis at 24.
Mom, brother, and wife now.
He's cursed.
Something is haunting this man.
He has a tuberculosis demon.
Mm-hmm. Sits right on his shoulder, just spitting into people's faces.
Spits into his pen and then spits into his loved ones.
Oh, this poor guy.
That's what deals with the devil are all about, right?
In agreement with what you're saying, Poe scholar Edward G. Petit is quoted as saying, "If you're a woman and Poe loves you, look out, you're doomed."
Yeah, agreed.
In the following weeks after Virginia's death, Poe took such a turn for the worse that it was thought he might actually die. Like, he just completely disintegrated as a human being.
Was it the drinking or was it just
Grief.
the worst possible state of grief you could think of?
Yes, yeah. He eventually recovers and spends the next 2 years just kind of like floating through relationships, floating through life, but not much else. He published a book in 1848 called Eureka that's about the mysteries and nature of the universe that got mixed reviews, but kind of mostly negative. He, however, regarded this as one of the most important pieces he ever wrote. And, again, praise from a unlikely source. In 1934, Albert Einstein said it was, quote, a beautiful achievement of an unusually independent mind. People coming out of left field praising this man.
Yeah, I mean he's a thinker, right?
Yeah.
He thinks and he knows how to articulate it well in a story.
Yeah. He really tried to like get deep into the universe theories and mysteries and all that.
I never thought of Poe as a philosopher.
Now you can. He was traveling a bit during this time and entertaining some women, like trying to maybe get back into another relationship, but he's drinking and he's drinking bad. An editor named John M. Daniel, after Poe's death, wrote, quote, his taste for drink was a simple disease, no source of pleasure or excitement.
He
So,
drank to drink.
yeah. In September, one of the women that he was entertaining, named Sarah Whitman, called upon him and he traveled to Rhode Island to meet her. They spent some time together, and by September 24th, he proposed to her. He's quick with the proposals.
Seeming like everybody is back in the day.
Yeah, that's true. I can't single him out for that. She said that she had needed some time to think about it, so he went home, but he continued to write her letters, trying to like convince her and win her over. He showed up at her house again, and again she sent him away, saying she will write to him in a few days with an answer. With no answer from her after a few days, he allegedly bought some laudanum and attempted to overdose on it, but it's widely believed that this was just kind of a cry for attention from him because it was so easy to overdose on that that he probably didn't make an actual attempt for it. Despite him acting a fool and trying to do that, she accepted the proposal with the condition that he gave up drinking, which very rational, very fair, I think.
Yeah, you've been acting a fool for a while.
Yeah,
And you've been known to act a fool. So
Mhm.
cut that out and sure.
Yep, but he could not. And on December 23rd, the wedding was called off and he never saw her again. This whole bit was just to emphasize how bad the drinking had gotten in his life.
Respect to her.
Yeah, set my boundary and I'm going to stand by it.
That's good. That's what people need to do in relationships. Stop getting walked on. Just stop.
It wasn't clocking to him.
Wasn't clocking.
It wasn't clocking him that she was standing on business.
We can't put that in there. That's not evergreen. Is Bieber evergreen?
I don't know. Okay. June of 1849, as he's getting ready to take a trip, he sat down Aunt Mother Muddy and gave her two directions for if he was to die. He wanted to tell her who should act as his literary executor and who should write about him. The next day, he started on a 3-month journey that would end with his death. Just a few days later in July, Poe showed up drunk to an old friend's house where he was claiming fear of his death coming at him from the hands of somebody else. He told John, quote, I have come to you for protection and a refuge. It will be difficult for you to believe what I have to tell you, that such things could happen in this 19th century. It is necessary that I remain concealed for a time, end quote.
So he was scared somebody's coming after him.
Yeah. He then proceeded to like go into this bizarre tale where he was on the train from New York where he thought he overheard a conversation of men planning to kill him and then toss his body from the platform.
Yeah, so either he's going crazy, he's just wildly drunk, or people are really coming after him.
Yeah. When asked why Poe thinks that this was like happening to him, he just claimed that it was revenge for women trouble.
Yeah, he tried to date someone, their brother heard about it and was like, no, not Poe. We're going to fucking kill him before he kills our sister.
That is a theory.
Like, legit? Are you saying that's a theory? Like, that's an interesting theory? Or are you saying, like, that is an actual theory?
No, that's an actual theory.
Okay.
Not because they're worried he's cursed, but because they didn't want him to be with their sister. But again, we will get into it.
Okay.
Sartain is able to calm him down, sober him up, and give him some time to just get his head back on right. And after a while, Poe admitted that it was likely a hallucinated experience. He's thinking like, yeah, maybe I was just too drunk. While on his way to and in Philadelphia, he'd fallen back to drinking, and he was actually arrested and sent to Moyamensing. After being released, he decided to go home to New York, and this is where he hears this, or he imagines this conversation. So he got off the train, hopped on another train going right back to Philly. In July of 1849, he wrote to Aunt Mother Muddy and said, quote, I have been so ill, have had the cholera or spasms quite as bad, and can now hardly hold the pen. It is no use to reason with me now. I must die. So now he's claiming cholera, but there's no evidence if he did not actually have it. In 2017, a test was done on a lock of his hair, and it did contain mercury, which was commonly used to treat cholera around this time period. So it's believed that he got treated for the disease, even if it can't be proven if he did or didn't have it. Do you know?
Yeah, I hear you.
Poe makes his way to newspaper editor George Lippard wearing one shoe, having no place to sleep, nothing to eat, and absolutely no will to continue living. And he begs George to help him, saying, quote, you are my last hope. If you fail me, I can do nothing but die.
That sounds like he has some will to live. He's relying on someone. Very pathetic.
Yeah.
But it's
It's a
there.
little pathetic.
It's very pathetic.
Yeah. So he left Sartain's house after like sobering up. And then a few days later, it was literally like 5 days later, he ends up in this guy's place, completely disheveled and a mess. Lippard took to the streets asking people for money, and he eventually returned to Edgar with $5, and Poe was like on the verge of tears thanking him. Lippard then escorted Poe to the train station, and Poe boarded a train, and the man never saw Edgar again. He arrived in Richmond on July 13th, and he met up with his sister Rosalie while there. He was actually in good spirits because he had just received $50 to help back a dream of starting his own magazine again. So somebody gave him $50 and said, yeah, go start your magazine. And while back here in Richmond, he actually met up with childhood sweetheart Elmira. She's back. Will she live?
Not if they get together.
Elmira was now a wealthy widow, and Poe quickly proposed marriage to her again, but she, like the other woman, asked for some time to consider. While here, he of course fell back into alcohol, and here it is noted that while he got drunk fast, it took forever for him to recover, often being like out of commission for up to 2 days. So he's getting that like mid-30s kind of hangover. He had 2 major drunken occurrences, and though he did recover from both of them, one Dr. Gibbon Carter told him, quote, another such attack would prove fatal. After this scare, in August, Edgar was initiated into the Shaco Hill Division of the Sons of Temperance.
What the heck is that?
Sons of Temperance were kind of like a group where they would encourage total abstinence from alcohol.
It's OGAA.
Yeah, kind of. After 22 years of an on and off again relationship with booze, Poe was apparently committed to finally quitting it once and for all. I think that doctor scared him.
Yeah, drink again
And
like
you'll
that. You drink like
die.
that again and you'll probably die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be enough to scare me sober. At this time, rumors started circulating of the upcoming wedding between Edgar and Elmira, though no official announcement had been made yet. Elmira did agree to the marriage, though, and she even sent a super sweet letter to Aunt Mother Maria, where she did absolutely like nothing.
Who the heck is Maria?
Muddy.
Mud.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Muddy. Where she did nothing but like spoke high praises of Edgar and was just super sweet. And it seemed like she was very excited to be becoming a part of their family. An acquaintance was noted as saying, quote, he declared that the last few weeks in the society of his old and new friends had been the happiest he had known for many years. So it seems like he's quit the alcohol. He's engaged again to this woman. Things are feeling good for him. He's actually happy. On September 26, Poe stopped by Elmira's house to say goodbye before he left for Philly again. He had some business to attend to up there, so he was just going to take a quick trip there and then come back. She noted him as having a fever and him complaining of being sick, but the next morning he was on a ship to Baltimore. So we don't know if this is true. This is just her account. Nobody else has reported him as being feverish or ill at this time. Other descriptions of him that same night, the night before he left, described him as buoyant, optimistic, and sober. So we're not 100% clear on how he was actually feeling the night before he left Richmond. There are absolutely no reports of Edgar between September 27th and October 3rd. Post scholar Steve Madero summarizes this with, quote, "The only thing we're certain of is our uncertainty."
Yep, he was off the radar for at least a few days, and
Yeah, about a week.
nobody knew what was going on.
Now, speculation on what actually happened here is abundant. Did he start drinking again? Was he actually sick? Was he kidnapped? We don't know what happens.
I've got my own theory.
What do you got?
It's just the sad, most probable one.
And?
Addicts.
Yeah.
Addicts can be doing good, and I've seen it before, and everything seems like it's fine, and it seems like everything's going good, and then it just takes one lapse in judgment. Could have been he had a couple days where he was kind of under the radar, and he decided to drink a little bit, and it probably was enough to just shut him down.
Yeah.
That'd be my guess on what happened.
Well, what we do know is Edgar was found on October 3rd outside of a polling place. It was a bar that was being used as a polling place where he was only semi-conscious. The fact that it was a polling place is important because it adds to one of the more popular theories for what happens to him, where it's believed that he might have been kidnapped and forced into cooping.
Is that trying to get people to vote a certain way?
Yes. So it was almost like a political gang where they would kidnap people and force like alcohol and drugs into their systems and then force them to vote for whoever these people wanted put into office. An old acquaintance, doctor and editor Joseph Snodgrass, ran to the polling place after hearing of Edgar's condition, and he said, quote, "Perhaps I would not have so readily recognized him had I not been notified of his apparel. His hat, or rather the hat of somebody else, for he had evidently been robbed of clothing or cheated in an exchange, was a cheap palm leaf without a band and soiled. His coat, of commonest alpaca and evidently second hand, and his pants of gray mixed cashmere, dingy and badly fitting. He wore neither vest or neckcloth, if I remember aright, while his shirt was sadly crumpled and soiled. He was so utterly stupefied with liquor that I thought it best not to seek recognition or conversation." End quote. That whole thing to say he is out of his mind wearing clothes that are very obviously not his. Of note here in Snodgrass's quote, him assuming that Edgar was insanely drunk. It was a guess on his part. There's no proof. There is nobody who came forward to say they saw Edgar drinking. There's nothing to back up his assumption.
But there is a history there.
There is. So, I mean, it's, while a valid assumption, it is not a fact. We do not know if Edgar was actually drunk in this time. Snodgrass then had Edgar ordered to a room in a hotel until relatives could be informed of his state, and Muddy's brother-in-law showed up. I don't know why he showed up though, because he denied to take Poe home to like care for him at all and told him to just send Poe to a hospital.
Could be trying to protect Muddy.
Well,
because Edgar has a track record of asking for money,
yeah.
being drunk.
The reason
he's got quite a negative. When he's in his lows,
they are quite low.
He's kind of a piece of shit. It seems like.
Well, funny that you mentioned that. The reason that this man gave to not take Poe was past behavior where he was rude when intoxicated. Assuming this is all again them assuming that Edgar's drunk. He didn't want to deal with him being rude at home.
He made such a name for himself of
alcohol.
Yeah, his alcoholism, his even like with the girl who said she would marry him and then didn't because he wouldn't quit, like the quote unquote suicide attempt. Just his behavior is very manipulative and he does seem like a very selfish man. He's intelligent. When he's up, from what I've heard, when he's up, he is talking shit about everybody else. Hey, I don't agree with your literary prowess. I don't agree with it. You should listen to me. We're not even going to be friends over this. He seems very arrogant. He'll get drunk and act a fool. And this guy has made the narrative that we're just waiting for Poe's next downfall because he's done it his whole life.
Yeah. He is kind of his own worst enemy in a lot of circumstances.
Yeah. You can rise above stuff that happens bad to you, or you can sink down with it and then become the guy that nobody trusts, the guy that nobody wants to marry, the guy that nobody wants to deal with when he needs help because all he's done is taken from people his whole fucking life.
I do think that's a very harsh but fair take on him. Back to him being sent to the hospital, Snodgrass was quoted as saying, quote, mere incoherent mutterings were all that were heard. It was said that he was taken to the carriage, like that was going to take him to the hospital, as if he were a corpse already. So he's just this limp body muttering incoherently.
Which is sad. If this is this man's final moments, he's trying to get help. And now when you need it, no one's coming. Because if he's drugged or beaten or anything like that, everyone's just writing it off as if he's drunk.
Yeah, and it is sad if you think about it that way. Like, if he was actually taken advantage of, or if it was this, like, cooping scheme, and he had the alcohol forced down his throat, not his fault at all.
Yeah, and definitely with how little he could drink. If that scenario is what happened, somebody throws a bottle down your damn throat, and not knowing that you're an extremely lightweight because of your physiology or whatever. Yeah, literally killed the man.
Yeah. Well, we will get into some death theories. So he was taken to the local hospital and was admitted that same night, where here, again, it is just nothing but a mystery. They being like historians, don't even know the room that he was admitted to. Like, we don't even know where he went once in the hospital. The attending doctor who was with Poe in his last days gave 3 separate accounts at 3 separate times of what actually happened to Poe in this hospital. So even the person who was there with him, we don't know because this dude came out with all these different tales. One account described Poe as constantly talking with, quote, vacant converse with spectral and imaginary objects on the wall. His face was pale and his whole person drenched with perspiration.
Finally got to see that tuberculosis demon.
Yeah, he's talking to oh my god. Yeah, he's talking to the TB demon. In another description of the events, the doctor said, quote, there was no smell of liquor upon his person or breath. His condition was more of a stupor, end quote.
Blunt force trauma of the head will do that to you.
Possible beating. A little bonk to the back of the head. Vote for this person. Despite the doctor's wild reporting of what's happened here, one thing is noted and accepted as truth, that Poe had no problem drinking water, which would dispel one theory for the cause of his death, which was rabies. So we're going to kind of get into some theories about what actually happened to Poe, what caused his death. In 2002, Edgar's hair was tested for different heavy metals that were in it. This test was used to see if carbon monoxide poisoning might have been a theory for this. Because of the illuminating gas that was used in lanterns at the time, carbon monoxide was a killer, but there wasn't enough in this test to say that he had died from that. So carbon monoxide poisoning was ruled out as well. This test did, however, reveal 15 times the normal level of arsenic and mercury in his system. Both, however, were beneath the lethal levels. So we got a lot of it, but not enough to kill. Malnutrition was also a theory that was put forward. This was eliminated because this test was able to tell them what Edgar was eating, and it appeared that he had a pretty well-balanced diet, so malnutrition was ruled out. Syphilis was also thrown around as a theory, but it was dismissed due to the lack of symptoms that usually happen in the beginning of syphilis. He didn't have like a rash or sores. He didn't have any hair loss. The other thing that rules this theory out is there is no evidence that Edgar was sexually active. there's no real reports of him having multiple partners or, I mean, there's not even any reports of him and Virginia having any sexual contact.
Like at all?
No.
Ever?
No.
They were married.
Yeah.
Hey, some people aren't really into sexual stuff.
Yeah.
So, it's fine.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
I guess it is what it is, and what it is a way to rule out syphilis. But also, I would argue, I mean, what would he do? Write a letter to Aunt Mother Muddy saying, yeah, I just had ravenous sex with your daughter? It was hot as shit? Hell yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of mystery here.
Yeah.
Is really what it is, because there's so many things you could say that would make sense.
It's all speculation.
Yeah, it's 100% speculation.
Yep. One of the oldest and most experienced physicians in the hospital examined Poe and said, quote, he will die. He is dying now. End quote.
To the point.
Yeah.
Gotta respect it.
He said Poe, quote, would die from excessive nervous prostration and loss of nerve power resulting from exposure affecting the encephalon, a sensitive and delicate membrane of the brain. End quote. I was really hoping that you could give me some insight into this.
I would think, exposure would either be some kind of radiation, some kind of poisoning, or...
The way I took that when I read it is he got a fucking bonk to the head. He got his noggin rocked a little bit.
Are you saying that he was exposed to blunt force trauma?
Maybe. If you guys know what that man's saying right there, please leave a comment and explain it. Either way, on October 7th, 1849, Edgar Allan Poe passed away at 40 years old around 5 in the morning, with his last words reported to be, quote, Lord help my poor soul. Tragic ending.
You know, it's either some of the saddest last words or some of the most pathetic.
I think what I've learned about you this episode is for some reason, you got a chip on your shoulder when it comes to this man.
You know, he was brilliant in a lot of ways. There's no taking that away from him. He's a brilliant man, but not brilliant enough to confront his own problems. And it led to him just destroying relationships in his life, is what I see from this.
Damn, harsh against my boy.
I'm just saying. I mean, Edgar has some of the coolest friggin' short stories and poems out there. Like, there's no doubt about it. The dude is a legend.
Mm-hmm. He's a sad legend.
Talented people can be shitty too.
Yes, very true. The next day, Edgar was buried in Baltimore's Westminster Presbyterian Church, with Virginia's cousin conducting just the 3-minute ceremony. The next day, he was buried. The ceremony was described as, quote, cold-blooded and unchristian-like, and Snodgrass recalled, quote, it seemed as if the heartlessness too often found directing the funeral rites of the poor and forsaken ones of the earth had suddenly become personified in a malign goddess. So, because this dude was like poor and forsaken, he got a heartless funeral. He was buried before Elmira or Muddy even knew he was dead. They did not give him the opportunity to have a proper funeral.
Oofda.
His cousin Nielsen Poe had gotten him a tombstone, but bad luck followed him even in death, and his tombstone was destroyed after a freight train jumped the track and hit the mason's yard where it was being stored.
Cursed.
Insane!
He's cursed.
Muddy took this death hard. She wrote to Nielsen Poe saying, quote, if it is true, God have mercy on me, for he was the last I had to cling to and love. She also wrote to a friend and an old love interest of Edgar's, saying, quote, Annie, my Eddie is dead. Pray for me, your desolate friend. My senses will leave me. End quote. This has nothing really to do with the story, but I mean, now the curse moved to this woman. As she was getting ready to leave the home that they had all shared together, her beloved cat died. So now she has no cat, no Eddie, and no Virginia. About 15-ish years later, Poe was exhumed so he could be reburied, and the cheap coffin that he was buried in was in ruins. His skeletal remains were intact, though, and it was noted that there was something like a lump of mud rolling around in his skull.
Like a tumor.
This is another theory that has been presented due to the report of that, because that could have been a tumor that had hardened up and was left behind. The only problem with this is that because of the state of the coffin, it very possibly could have just been
Mud that fell in.
or a rock or something like that. But the theory tumor, the tumor theory is a prevalent one.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yes. Yeah. A
Tumor-
brain tumor?
Tumors pressed on your brain make you a little incoherent.
I actually like the tumor theory. Well, I don't like it, but I think it's a good theory. In 1875, Edgar got a new and final resting place with a marble monument above him, with with Muddy on one side of him and Virginia on the other. A monument marking his original resting place was put up with a raven on top of the gravestone and the words, "Quoth the raven, nevermore." Poe's symptoms during the last 3 months of his life fit an astounding number of theories in the debate about his death. He's almost as famous for his death as he is for his writing. In his book, The Fall of the House of Usher, there's a line that says, quote, "It was a mystery, all insoluble," end quote, which I think very aptly fits the circumstances of his death. Poe scholar Amy Armiento says, quote, "By leaving us so young and leaving so many mysteries behind, he can be for us what we need him to be and what we want him to be," end quote.
Very cool quote.
Yes, but what do we want him to be? What do we need Poe to be in our society? Do we need him to be the cartoonish version that he has kind of been reduced down to, of just a dreary man hunched over his desk, a raven on his shoulder, writing in the candlelight?
Is he just a drunk that ended up slipping into the bottle and throwing his life away? Or is he a tragic story of a man who finally made it to where everything in his life was going the way he wanted, and then some tragic circumstance took him and finished him?
Yeah. He was happy when he was in Richmond. People thought it was the happiest they had ever seen him. What about the boy who swam in the river? The
Yeah.
boy who got into fights? The boy who would lend any friend any assistance they needed with his hand or his head? The 5'8" man who was described time and time again as charming and an enchanting gentleman with brown hair and very attractive eyes. The man who loved his mother so deeply, he is quoted as saying he owed her, quote, "every good gift of his intellect and his heart," end quote. He was more than this cartoonish image that we have of him. He was funny, he was charismatic, he was sensitive, loyal, and troubled. Poe has inspired countless authors and actors, such as Stephen King, who is quoted as saying, "He followed the lore of the night and nightmares, and the rest of us have been following him ever since." Or Wes Craven, who says, quote, "Poe wasn't brilliant because he had the power to make people fearful. His brilliance stemmed from the recognition and understanding that we're all fearful. He didn't create the fear. He ingeniously tapped into what was already there. He showed us the way, and we're nowhere without Poe." Even today, Poe resonates more deeply with the population than he did back then. Atrocities of the 20th and 21st centuries have placed the populace at a level where Poe resonates even more. So next time you read Poe, just remember the man who had big dreams, big goals, and a big heart, as well as the man who was mired in trauma, tragedy, and an innate ability to self-destruct. I will end this episode with the same quote that the book uses. Quote, "I am dying, yet shall I live."
Beautiful quote.
Mhm.
And thank you for doing all that research and bringing that up, because that was a fun relearning for me of Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah.
And it was very fun to go down the rabbit holes of what could have happened, rehearing how his life went, and visiting some of the more tragic moments, and then, like you alluded to, the more self-destructive moments of his
Yeah.
life. He's definitely a complex man, definitely a brilliant writer.
Yes. No matter what you want to say about his personality or his character as a whole, it is undeniable that he truly was a pioneer for the dark, I don't want to say horror, but maybe thriller genre.
It's just the darker moments in real life, right?
Yeah.
He brought those to light.
Yes.
Another quote that you said that really resonated with me towards the end of this,
Yeah.
that I think was perfectly placed in there. One of the scholars
Mm-hmm.
said that he was basically shrouded in enough mystery for him to take on whatever form we needed him to take.
Yeah.
When you hear this, he can be the tragic story, the self-destructive, jerk, the child who just time after time again lost everybody. He could literally fit whatever narrative you need him to fit.
Yeah.
Because there's enough gray area there. And that to me is kind of amazing, to have somebody shrouded in just enough mystery that you know who they are,
but you don't know who they are.
but you also there's a lot of ambiguity there to his life that just makes him a fascinating character.
Yeah, this was definitely an interesting journey for me. I grew up with Edgar Allan Poe, reading him from a young age, doing more in-depth research, more on his work, less of him, to know the stories, the poems, the everything behind him, but not actually know who he was as a man. This was very enlightening to me, because I do agree with you that I think at times he was being a bit selfish, a bit conceited in his own thoughts and what he needed. But at other times, I genuinely just think he was a man who got dealt a terrible hand, and without any intervention or help, he did what he had to do to survive. And it might not have always been the right call. It might not have been the right thing, but he was just trying to get through every disappointment, every letdown, every death, everything that just seemed to follow him, whether or not from his own hands or from something else.
And I think that is a good thing to remember as people moving and navigating through our lives, is that nobody is all one thing.
Mm-mm.
Nobody's all the jerk. Nobody's all the victim. Nobody's all anything. We're all just trying to get through
And survive.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
The little PSA at the end is just be good to each other, I guess. Let's just all be good to each other, because we're all little Edgar Allan Poes trying to get through our own damn stories.
Oh yeah.
And one time again, Jamie, what was that book that you used?
The book is A Mystery of Mysteries, The Death and Life of Edgar Allan Poe, written by Mark Dawidziak. So sorry if that was mispronounced.
Yeah.
My bad.
And we'll put a link to that book if anyone wants to do some further reading. We can put a link to Amazon or something so you can pick it up, or pick it up in your local library.
That's where I got mine. But I do highly recommend reading more into this. I left a lot out, obviously, because I'm not just reading the book to you guys, but it is definitely worth the read. 100%. We'll see you guys here next week for a new episode. Thank you.
I'll see you guys.